Gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis.
What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Yeah, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you?
It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. It is Wednesday, April 16th. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you're watching us on YouTube Live, we appreciate that. We got our everydayers who seem to do that often, so we appreciate that. Inching ever so close to 1,000 subscribers. We are 5 subscribers away. So if you're watching on YouTube right now and you haven't subscribed, do so. If you're watching and you know a friend or two and you can tell them about what we're doing Off the Air with Matt Randazzo every single weekday, 10 a.m. right here on YouTube and, of course, on X as well. We are live on X. A lot of people take in the show on X. We appreciate that as well. Also, I mention it every day, but we are also in a podcasting form as well. So if you miss the show live, you can always check it out on the podcasting platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Podbean, you name it, we're there. So download the podcast on your way home from work. If you're going to go for a workout, if you're going to go for a run on what's supposed to be a beautiful Wednesday here in the Quad Cities, download the podcast and take a listen to today's show, but also the shows from the past week or earlier this week as well. A lot of good stuff. A lot of fun things have gone on already this week. Of course, it is Holy Week. Easter weekend is coming up. Everyone excited about that. The Randazzo household all excited about Easter as well. So, and of course, also WrestleMania weekend as well. So 2 very different things, but 2 things to definitely get excited about nonetheless. Excited about today's show. Last couple days, we've talked some Hawkeye stuff. Obviously, Iowa landing a transfer recently. They landed one on a Monday. We talked about that yesterday. So we're going to focus on the Illini early on here in the show. Josh McCray, running back that had 114 yards and 2 touchdowns in the bowl game. A guy that means a lot to Illinois when it comes to one of Brett Bielema's first recruits back when he first took over. Announced yesterday, kind of to the surprise of a lot of people, that he's heading to the transfer portal. We'll talk about that. Some Illinois basketball news with a pair of Illini guys leaving early to go to the NBA draft. All of that and much more with our friend from the Illini Guys, Mike Cagley, coming up in just a matter of moments. Also, it is Wednesday, which means it's Steamwheeler Wednesday, brought to you by XUSD. We're excited about that. Last week, Joe Crawl came out to the studio. We had a ton of fun with him. Today, it is Keyvan Rudd in the studio, kind of the face of the Steamwheelers, in my opinion. 6 years with the team. He's a local standout, obviously. Did great things, 3-sport athlete at Davenport Central. So we got a lot to talk to him about because the Wheelers are 4-0. They're perfect. They're undefeated. They're also perfect and undefeated as a partner, if you will, with OTA, with Off the Air. So I'm taking a little bit of credit as well. So Mr. Rudd will be here in a short order as well. So we'll get caught up with him as well. Also, the Quad City angle with him is exciting because he's a QC guy. So we'll talk a little Davenport Central and all that kind of fun stuff as well. So if you missed the shows this week, on Monday, we had Pat Anger as always, Rick Brown, which was really awesome to chat with him, and Thomas Smith talking about a military night, a military appreciation night that Alleman did yesterday, and hats off to the Alleman baseball program. Everything done really well. A great crowd turning out for Alleman and Monmouth Roseville in a military appreciation night. A lot of good things off the field as well. If you're an Alleman guy, a lot of good things on the field as well. The Pioneers winning their 12th game of the season. They're now 12-5. So you can go listen to that from Monday. On Tuesday, Tom Kakert was here. We also talked to Matt Furlong from Geneseo and Nate Gilbreth of Assumption, because Geneseo and Assumption are going to play each other on week 2. It took a lot to get there. I threw out yesterday, I'd love to see a football shootout. Obviously, a lot of people would. It's nothing new. It's nothing that I just thought of yesterday. But it's difficult to do. And I had a lot of people respond on social media that there are a lot of hurdles in the way. And there are. But big picture-wise, it'd be great to get there. And just because something seems difficult doesn't mean you don't figure out a way to do it. I mean, some people would think it was crazy to quit a job on TV to start a podcast in their basement or loft, if you will. And that's worked out okay. So bottom line is, yes, it's difficult. A lot of hurdles and obstacles on both sides of the river, mainly on the Iowa side, but I'd love to see that somehow happen in the near future. So go check out that podcast as well. Also, Lauren Walker, the Central DeWitt standout, changing her commitment. She's heading to Northern Iowa. Great to catch up with her. So a fun day yesterday on Off the Air. A few things before we get rocking and rolling. We'll talk more about it during the show in the second hour, but a pair of local standouts doing huge things nationally. Congratulations to Lexi Rodriquez. She won the prestigious AAU James E. Sullivan Award, only the third volleyball player ever to win that award. We'll hear a little bit of what she had to say when she accepted the award later on in the show, and also exchange text messages with Lexi and efforting to get her on the show probably next week would be my guess. But a fantastic young lady with everything she had going on last night to respond to a text message from myself and kind of start looking to set something up is exciting. So congratulations to Sterling standout Lexi Rodriquez and winning an awesome honor last night. We'll hear from her from last night's award speech in just a little bit. Also, another big local standout doing big things and achieving big things, Chasen Randall. He just wins. You can't see it because I don't have my shot on, but I got my Chasen Randall picture up. One of my favorite athletes I've gotten to cover. He was on the very first Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, I believe, first or second. But obviously state championships and at Rock Island in high school. NIT championship, Sweet 16 at Stanford, success in the league, made it in the league for a few years, has won internationally. He won a G League championship 2 nights ago out with the Stockton Kings. So we'll get Chasen back on here. A great excuse, and I don't think I ever need an excuse, but a great excuse to get Chasen Randall back on the show. So we'll effort to see if we can sneak him in maybe late this week, early next week as well. So congratulations to Chasen Randall for doing more big things. But we start today with a little chat on the Fighting Illini. And we are joined now by the Illini Guys, Mike Cagley. Mike, I always appreciate chatting with you about the Illini. And here's the thing, my friend, there's always something to talk about. I feel like there's more to talk about now than there is during football season or during basketball season sometimes, because things are so busy. And I wanted to start with talking to you about some football today, because we found out yesterday that Josh McCray is going to enter the transfer portal now here after spring and leave the University of Illinois. I was surprised, and you said that's an understatement before we started. What goes through your mind when you find out that news on Tuesday?
Well, selfishly, Josh McCray has been one of my favorite players. You have to root for him. He's played very well for the Illini and also been victimized to some kind of weird, rare hit injuries. And you're thinking, here's a kid who never got hurt, who had 2 seasons end early due to, leg injuries, and a great kid. Brett Bielema loves him. He was the first commit ever to Brett Bielema at Illinois. And then out of the blue, this happens. Now, I haven't talked to Josh, but my thought process is there's people back channeling all the time. It happens. I mean, I don't know that there's a team in the country that doesn't do it. Because you have your people talk to the athletes' people. So, who knows? Maybe some team is out there that has an assistant coach who can call his high school coach, who can talk to Josh. And it goes back to me to one thing: fair or unfair, is kind of irrelevant in my book. But if you take a look at it, about 2.4 to 2.5% of college football players play in the NFL. If you get a high dollar number for NIL, or even a number that is significantly more than you're making and might help you in life, you almost have to take it. It's kind of like somebody tells me, if I had been a senior in college all those years ago at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, the Harvard of the Midwest, but if somebody would have called me as a senior and said, hey, finish out another year at ABC University and we're going to pay you $300,000, $500,000, whatever, it would have been, hey, I love my time here, but that can change my life. I could get a down payment on a house, and at least, it takes the pressure off the early earning, of myself. And who knows, maybe Josh, he's got a lot of the package of an NFL player. Maybe he gets lucky, but right now I don't think he's on anybody's radar as like the next big thing in the NFL. So why wouldn't you take it? Now, I don't know if that's the situation or not, but let's say a team like Auburn, who's famous, for backdooring things and having a lot of money. Let's say Auburn, decided they needed another running back, and somebody put $500,000 down or $500,000 or $750,000. It's going to be hard to say no to that. So I don't know. I mean, and we really don't know right now. At least I don't now. I'll be honest with you. I haven't talked to Ket or Brad in the last 3 hours. So they may right now know what's going on to the nth degree. And I haven't had a chance to converse with them. But, as we look at it, to me, I can understand why these players do it. And I know I get so tired of fans. Well, I would never do that. Or these kids don't understand commitment. And I just laugh because how many people, anytime somebody tells me that, I ask them, I say, when have you ever turned down a job opportunity that pays you more money than the job that you currently have?
Yeah.
Most people, now I'm not saying everybody, but most people cannot say no to that. They go, oh yeah, I got $2,000 more. I got $10,000 more. And they leave. Well, why would a player not do that, especially when you're magnifying the numbers to such life-changing things? If somebody offered him $500,000 and it's more than Illinois was paying him, and he's got an opportunity to again, help his mom out or and get a head start in life. As much as I like him and selfishly, I'm not going to be writing any checks to him. So I can totally understand why a player would do that.
Yeah.
And I can also understand why it takes the fun out of it for fans, because now college sports is very similar to the Jerry Seinfeld routine of 1994 and 95 when they started the salary cap in the NFL. And he said, essentially, now we are rooting for laundry because the players aren't the same, but the jerseys are. So we're now we actually cheer for laundry. And I think college sports is getting that way. Seeing Brock leave, Owen leave from Iowa this year, all the players who've left. And yeah, I get it. The coach was gone. I totally understand that, but it's still probably a little bit of it kind of wakes you up, a little slap in the face, so to speak, for Iowa fans to go, hey, these guys that I was excited about, and I watched them in high school and I followed their careers and they had a really good freshman year. They're not there anymore. And that's Illinois fans are struggling with Josh McCray, but they're also struggling with Will Riley and Kasparis going pro. Because normally a team like Illinois had this year, you would say, hey, we went to the round of 32. Four of our biggest players, five, you go five if you throw Morez in there, but 5 of our top 7 guys are guys who that's their first year in college basketball. So you're thinking, wow, the next year or two are going to be great.
Yeah.
But instead, 2 guys go to the NBA, which they should because the money is just too good. 2 guys go to the NBA. Morez decides he wants a different role. And now all of a sudden you're like, well, wow, the nucleus that would have been fun to, watch their sophomore and junior years is gone.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the power brokers of college football, I don't know if they are they realize that. Maybe it's no big deal for Ohio State and Georgia because they just reload 5 stars, or Alabama. But the rest of the teams, I think this is harder on. And basketball is kind of turning into every year is just like, let's see who you can put together this year and see how it goes. And then it blows up at the end of the year and we'll watch next year.
Yeah, you look at it, Mike, and when you talk about the football stuff, and Tom Kakert was on yesterday, and you're going to see it a little bit different spring when it comes to the transfer portal. And what Tom brought up, which I think makes a lot of sense, is you're going to start finding out like how much starters make and how much backups make when it comes to the money that's allotted and slotted out. And when you get done with spring and you see, like you just said, if you're maybe a platoon guy or a backup guy or whatever, and you look down and you say, hey, there's a school that can go pay me to be a starter, and we've talked about it a lot, Mike. A lot of these guys are going to earn the most money in their lives between the ages of 18 and 22. That wasn't my case. I didn't make the most money in my life unfortunately, I went into the media, so I didn't make a lot of money anyways. But 18 and 22 definitely wasn't it. I was drinking any money that I could make at those times. And it's different now. So I think that opens things up. Talk X's and O's with me when it comes to depth chart, losing Josh McCray, where he fit after this spring, where was he expected to fit? And then obviously what's left and where do they move on when it comes to the running back room at the University of Illinois?
Yeah, I really feel like, Illinois is fine there. There's, you got Caden Fagan. You've got a whole group, and I want to grab my roster here because I don't want to leave anybody out. And then everybody's like, I can't believe you didn't mention player A, or player A gets
and
mad at me.
People
And
do
they're
that.
all,
Trust me. There's a lot of
they remember it, and they're yes.
There's a lot of internet
So,
warriors out there that'll make sure if you slip up and forget somebody, Mike. I totally understand.
Yeah, the internet warriors get really annoyed at me because I'm just not one that is I don't worry about these things too much. I just kind of move on to the next thing. I go, if you talk a lot, you're probably gonna make a mistake here or there. But obviously, Fagan's the one that you think about the most. You're looking at Khalil Valentine had a good year last year. Kind of surprised, played more than what we thought he would do. And of course, when you're looking at Aiden Lowry, small town guy who is really doing quite a bit for the team. So you've got those guys there, and then they've been very fortunate. They have brought in some younger running backs, and they really do have guys who I'm not certain. You got to see how they translate to the college game. But if you look on paper, Illinois' got depth in that running back room, like really no time in my lifetime. When you look at the potential standpoint, you look at John Forster, was a 4-star. Cedric Weiss, his films are spectacular as he was in high school. And then you've got a few other guys out there. But when you look at Valentine, Fagan, Lowry, Forster, Weiss, there's guys who are really good. And then you have Corey Rashad. You've got Aaron Ball and Oleye coming in as well. So there's a lot of talent there. Some of it, though, is potential. And, of course, we all remember Harry Carey back in the 80s, potential's a French word that means you ain't done doo-doo yet. Well, you got to see how they're going to play. But, I mean, I can see just watching Weiss's films were really a treat for me when we were watching him in the recruiting process. And Bielema finds guys who maybe had an injury a little bit their junior year, who display a lot of talent. And maybe that, like I said, the junior year is when you really make your name for yourself. And Bielema does such a good job of finding those guys and then picking them off and bringing them into Illinois when people thought, well, maybe was he as good as we thought he was? Well, he was injured. Well, they're yeah, but guys. And I'll give Bielema credit. He's been good enough to find the right players that Illinois has been able to compete maybe with a roster that from a star standpoint isn't, where maybe other teams are, and give him credit. I mean, he's never been a guy who wins with a boatload of 5 stars.
No,
he's always been one, maybe, a couple 5 stars here and there, but he's been a 4-star and a 3-star guy. And for the life of me, it's really funny, but if you look at all college coaches and how many offensive linemen they've put in the NFL, now that Nick Saban has retired, Brett Bielema's number 1 in the country, and he had a 3-year break when he was out of, between Arkansas and Illinois when he was in the NFL. So I continuously wonder why offensive linemen don't go, well, wait a minute, this guy puts 3 and 4 stars in all the time. I just wonder why a couple 5 stars don't say, well, I'm going to put all my chips in that corner.
Yeah.
Of course, and you guys know Brett Bielema, former Hawkeye, so I never thought I'd be so excited to have a former Hawkeye coach in the Illini.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the things you say about him are the things you hear about Kirk Ferentz. And if the Iowa Hawkeyes lost a running back this time of year, it's the next man up mentality. And yeah, obviously you'd want Josh McCray on that team and the things he can do, but it's just the next guy up. And you find out now, instead of losing him in October because of an injury or something like that, you now have time to prepare and get ready to rock and roll this fall. Mike Cagley from the Illini Guys joining us. Got to talk basketball. Obviously, you mentioned a little bit, KJ and Will Riley both going to the NBA draft. I don't think it's anything surprising. And big picture-wise for the Fighting Illini, you're going to sit there and you're going to watch an NBA draft that has two players hear their name called in the first round. That's really good for recruiting, for transfer stuff, for convincing players in this ever evolving free agency of college basketball to come play here, because you got to, and the way they did it too, it's a young player that played as a freshman, and it's also a overseas kid, which is something, if you know anything about Illinois basketball right now, is something that they're really tuning into and doing a really good job with. So just big picture, to have 2 first-round NBA picks is a good thing for the University of Illinois. Obviously, you want them to stay, but it's a good thing when it comes to the overall health of the program, isn't it?
Yeah, look, Illinois has never, ever had a one and done. So I'm 57. I haven't seen that yet. I'll turn 58 before the draft. So I'll have went 58 years, and then I'm going to see 2 in the same season. So isn't that crazy?
I would never thought that, Mike.
Yeah,
but you're right.
Never had a one and done. Yeah.
God, even Iowa.
Never.
Ricky Davis.
Never happened.
Was a one and done. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah. So this Brad Underwood's done something that, 110 years or however many years of Illinois basketball, 120, they've never been able to accomplish. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then as you watch, that's going to be important for street cred. And then Illinois, the biggest concern I have as an Illinois fan is I didn't like seeing Morez Johnson leave, but the problem is when one player gets approached by a team with a dollar amount that's more than what you want to pay for that roster position, it puts the player and the program in a rough spot. Because if Illinois decides, a power forward who doesn't stretch the floor is worth $1 million, and Michigan says we'll pay 1.5 for it, does Illinois match it? And in this case, I think they chose not to. I'm a huge Morez Johnson fan. I really think he's going to play well, and there's going to be a lot of angst in Champaign when he does play well. But if you really are putting together a team and you're saying we have to space the floor, you may not be able to pay $1.5 million to that. And so now we've got like salary cap considerations in putting together a roster in college sports.
It's crazy.
And that goes back to, I have I've got a good friend who's a big time Ohio State booster. I'm not saying big time, but he probably donates, 10, 20 grand a year. So he's not a big guy, but he puts in money. And he's said for years that Ohio State knows exactly how much money they pay a freshman, per position. And I've heard the same thing out of a buddy of mine who's an Oklahoma booster. And I've heard the same thing from a friend of mine who pals around with Georgia boosters. So I think there is probably at the top levels of college sports, just what you said. There's a just like the NFL has that trade chart for what a pick is worth in the NFL draft. I think there's probably I'm sure it's not formalized, but I'm sure there's hey, if this guy's a 5-star wide receiver, we pay him X. And of course now that's been challenged a little bit. But the funny thing is with the portal being so hot, I think it's actually probably taken a little bit of steam out of the money for any freshman once you get outside the top 100 in both sports. Now I do think the very top, this is incredible. AJ Dispanzi, or how you pronounce his name, he's going to BYU, and we've heard rumors anywhere from 3 to 10 million, depending on who you want to listen to. Same thing for Bryce Underwood, the quarterback who's going to Michigan. So, if you're at the very top, it's fantastic. But that also puts pressure. And I know the country's a little angry right now as you listen politically, and talk radio is just such a cesspool of hate speech, but there's a lot more frustration being, and I don't know if you're hearing that in Iowa, but there's a lot more frustration being expressed about players making money-driven decisions than what I would have thought in the past. And it's been a little shocking to me, to go on Twitter and hear somebody, just ripping on a 19-year-old when, at 57, if somebody came to me and said, hey, Mike, where you go in the draft, I'll pay you 3 years and it'll be a total compensation of $27 million. As a 57-year-old, I would do it.
Yeah.
Let alone if I was a 19-year-old. I don't get the antipathy that the fans are having right now.
It's the you can't blame the kids because it's the system that's been set up. You can blame the university presidents, you can blame the NCAA, but until there's regulations, it's the wild, wild west, and you can't fault a kid for trying to make as much money as they possibly can. When you look at Mike Cagley with the Illini Guys joining us right now, Illinois is slowly starting to put together how that new roster will look. And it's funny because in today's day and age, like Iowa fans, I just had Kakert on yesterday, and he's like, they just landed the kid from Kansas State, and fans still want more. They're like, wait, what? They're very antsy right now when it comes to speed dating because it's already fast enough, and they want it to be like really speedy dating. I think there's got to be a patience with it because you're not going to get everybody that you're going to want. I mean, Josh Dix was a realistic possibility in Illinois. It didn't happen. You're going to go through these kind of things. But instead of doing it in a 2-year period, when it comes to the recruiting process that it used to be, now it's all done in a month and a half, 2 months. So how does Illinois start adding to this? And I wanted to bring up to you because Adam Miller is back out there again. And it's weird from me on the outside looking in. I brought this up on Monday on the show. I don't think there was any love lost, and you can correct me, but I didn't feel like there was a lot of love lost between the Illinois fans and Adam Miller when he left. So it seems weird to me that he's coming back, and some of the same fans, and I know fans are fans and they're all the same, that probably kicked him on the way out is like, oh, well, welcome back. Is it strange for you as an Illini guy, or is it, hey, we need a shooter, we need experience, we need size, although a mature basketball player, let's go, let's bring him back?
Well, I think that's where I come from is, again, you got to look at what you need. You know who the kid is, and you also know that he really didn't want to leave. It was more driven by crazy mom. So, look,
never caused any problems, Mike. It wasn't like he was a problem when he was here. He wasn't getting in trouble off the court or anything like that. It didn't seem like he was a cancer or anything like that. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, you always had to worry a little bit when you got the Irvins involved out of, with the Mac Irvin fire.
Mm-hmm.
But fact of the matter is I think he wanted to start. I think that was probably there were times that maybe he didn't always deserve to start as a freshman, all 31 games or whatever it was. Maybe he should have started 22, something like that. But he is a good kid, and I don't think, from everything that I've heard, I am not an insider, but I'm an aggregator because like you, I talk to insiders.
Yes,
all the time.
Great analogy. I like that. I'm going to use that.
As an Illinois aggregator, I've not heard that he was a bad apple, that he was somebody who caused issues. I've heard that his mom was, could cause issues. Obviously, I don't think she's anywhere near Richard Mendenhall's mom, or some of the legendary moms of the past. But certainly could cause some challenges there. But he himself wasn't an issue, and so. Brad Underwood, the one thing that he lost sight of last year, and I think, I don't know if he would ever admit it publicly, but when he put together that team, he got talent, but it was so young, and there wasn't, besides Kylan Boswell, there wasn't a lot of people who could kind of, had an experience to guide the ship on those days that it was not, the sea was rough. And when Ty Rogers took the red shirt unexpectedly, that certainly was surprising. But now for Illinois fans, if you would have told an Illinois fan in January, you wait till May, you're going to have, Ty Rogers back, and Adam Miller could be here too. That would be hilarious to see the looks. Now, I was always a fan of Rogers, and I thought it was a dreadful miscalculation on both sides to allow the red shirt to happen. I think he would have served a very important role. And then when you throw in the injuries, I think he may have helped them win a game or two this season. We'll see how well he plays. But I think the one thing Brad Underwood wants to do is I think he wants more continuity. So, you've got kind of a nucleus coming back that wasn't there last year, and he wants to get older. So Adam Miller provides you like a 3/4 continuity because he's coming back. He knows the staff, et cetera. And he also provides you that older guy who's a competent player. I mean, he's not a college, all-star or anything like that, but he's a competent player, and he's coming off of a career high 42% from the three. So that gives you a really nice option in the Underwood offense. And he does play defense. So, we'll see how it all works out, because we hear a lot like, oh, I really want to come back. And people say, oh, I don't want to leave. And then they go, whoa, how much money did you say? Mm-hmm. And so he's got to make that choice, because I don't know that for a guy who's, coming back, et cetera, I don't know that Illinois is going to break the bank for him. So
that makes a lot of sense.
We'll just have to see, how bad does Illinois want him and what type of competition's out there for him.
Help me put this roster together real fast before we let you go. The Dame Sarr prospect is definitely something that the Illinois fans are hoping for as well. How do you put this together? If Mike Cagley got to put together a ideal finish to this roster, you're probably going to add 3 or 4 more guys still?
Yeah, I would add 2 wings, and both would be athletic. So Sarr would be one side that would be great. But I would find myself athletic, 6'5" to 6'8". Just that Sarr is, almost 6. He's, I guess, depends on the measurements now, because he actually measured better than we thought, like 6'7.5". But you've got him. If you get him, I think you need to get another wing, and then you need to get an experienced ball handler. Where I am very different than most Illini people, and I whine and moan about this all the time, is you need another big. I really think Morez is a bigger loss to me than it is to most fans, because last year when Illinois, you had Tomislav with the injury to the mono, and then he comes back and gets the flu, and he sprains an ankle, and then Morez breaks a wrist, and you're like, well, we had 2 really good guys who could play the 5, And at that point, you're like, wow, Dane Danger would have been nice to have around. Coleman Hawkins on last year's team. I know Coleman and Brad Underwood exhaust each other. They mutually exhaust each other. But if you'd had Coleman Hawkins on that team, that's what they needed. They needed that steady hand. They needed that, a 6'10" player who could do some things. So to me, I would be looking for one more big as well. But that would be a Mike Cagley, not a Brad Underwood, not a Orlando Antigua. And those guys have obviously won a significantly higher number of games at the college level than I have.
I'm just
telling you my opinion. Yeah.
Any names you want to throw out there when Illinois fans can kind of look toward? Obviously, the Dame Star kid is a kid that people are going to be talking about a lot. But any other names surfacing or thoughts as you get ready to go down this?
I think there's a whole bunch of kids that Illinois looks at. In particular, they've done this. Guys who are going and saying, you know what, I'm going to try my hand at the NBA, and then they come back.
Yeah.
And I think that's open season. I mean, I would tell you one thing. I would bet Will Riley is getting calls from other college teams saying, hey, man, you don't like it at the NBA, the NBA where you're at in the draft. Don't go to Illinois. Come and play us. I mean, there's a lot of rumbling that Coach Pope at Kentucky loves him and would love to have him on the Wildcats next year. So I think it's really – Sturdy was famous for saying recruiting is fluid. And so I think it's really hard to know because these teams can't talk about their targets that aren't technically in the portal yet. And so I think they are eyeballing a lot of things. The portal, I believe, closes on the 22nd maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to see some people that will go into the portal towards the end that will get swooped up, and that will lead one to say, well, this school or two or three schools were certainly thinking he might go into the portal, and they came on a deal pretty quickly. So it wouldn't surprise me if Illinois, like all these other teams, has a few players across the country that they've heard rumblings that could be going, into the portal. And I also think they are very much going to scan that NBA list and the guys who come back. If any of them are, are in the portal as well, that may give you an opportunity. So it's hard for me to give you names besides SAR right now. There's a whole list that Brad and Ked could rattle off, but I got to tell you, those lists can change in a matter of hours. Like today, AJ Storr, the enigmatic kid who played at St. John's and then had a great year at Wisconsin. And then Bill Self, probably the best coach in college basketball, couldn't figure out how to use him. And now he went to Ole Miss today. Well, there was a lot of Illini fans who remember how well he played against Illinois and Terrence Shannon and said, we'd love to have a shot at him. So and then all of a sudden he's gone. So it's hard to know. And by the way, there's Crazy Mom 101 right there. But so it's really hard to know exactly where these marriages. And then it goes to what you're talking about. How good is the coaching staff at figuring out the fit? Because you can get a Matt Meyer who comes to Illinois and had some really good games and had some bizarre. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever missed a game because of too much monster before. So you don't know. There's some games that Meyer won for the Illini, probably at least two games that he almost single-handedly pulled off for the Illini. And then there were two or three where he was disinterested and probably cost him a game. So how do you get that right fit when you're speed dating?
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's easy for us as fans to go, well, what the heck was coach thinking? But when you think about the speed date and you think about the bidding war and all those things that are going on and then put it on a countdown clock, I think it gets really – it's amazing probably that there aren't more screw-ups in rosters than what we see.
Yeah, no, when you speed date, there's some success stories in life when it comes to marriage, and then there's a lot of probably disastrous speed dating stories that people can tell that don't work out. And that's
I don't
the same
have
way
any,
it is.
Matt, but
Go ahead.
Do you have any? I don't have any. I'm too old for speed dating. So.
Yeah, I am. I that's the thing is I don't understand it anyways. But yeah, it's crazy. It's weird. It's trying to get used to it. and understand that it's not. I think my kids they get it more than I do, I think, which is weird because for me, I still want, like you said, I want to see the group that you talked about, Morez and KJ and Will, play together for a second year. Because if you do, I think you're playing.
So
you're playing
2 years would have been.
Yeah, absolutely, it'd be great.
Fantastic.
So, Mike, before I let you go,
question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Look, WrestleMania.
I know.
What match are you looking for?
You might be back again this week. We were going to talk to you because we're going to do something on Friday. So we might circle back around with you too. Well, I'm looking forward to first off, I'm so upset that the dang thing's on Easter weekend. It's really just kind of, you got to be a good dad and you got to do those kind of things. So my favorite match is the triple threat match. I'm a Seth Rollins guy, being a Davenport guy. I like and appreciate CM Punk, but he's down the list for me. And I'm a Roman Reigns guy right now. So really intrigued. I think Paul Heyman is as good as it gets when it comes to storytelling and all those things in professional wrestling. So I think that whole thing is going to be great to see come to fruition. There's going to be some really good matches as well. I think that 4-way match for the Intercontinental title, the match itself is going to be really, really well done as well. What are you looking forward to when it comes to WrestleMania Saturday or Sunday?
Well, I'm one of the few people in the country. I'm not a big Cody Rhodes fan. So I'm actually as much as I never really liked Cena. Yeah. But I would love to see a heel run where he doesn't show up that often, which is what he accused The Rock of, and he wins. I think that would be deliciously fun.
Yeah.
And as much as I've not been a Roman Reigns fan, that darn bloodline, there's more meat on that bone. So I got to think that they're going to be going back to that. My concern is Seth Rollins and to some extent Kevin Owens is kind of the same way. They're so good at what they do that you can shoehorn them into anything.
Yep.
And they don't necessarily have to win, but they'll make it really good. And I'm worried that Seth's not going to get the opportunity because I do think it would be good to see a title run with him. And when he starts making fun of Roman for not being smart and not seeing things ahead of time, the old architect character comes back. Yeah. I think that's good. And I do think you go back into the history of wrestling. I think you need a wrestler like that. Like Nick Bockwinkel used to do that. I'm smarter than you. And I, he uses big words and he's always thinking 3 steps ahead in the match. And I think they should build that for Rollins' character because that plays well as to why he's always been able to beat Reigns. And I think, like I said, I would love to see a Rollins title run here. The one I don't want to see, I've never been a CM Punk guy. And so I don't get him. I've never gotten him. Mm-hmm. I don't understand a guy who's not much bigger than when I was young, I was 6'2" and 210. So I think I'm probably bigger than
I was going to say, I don't think he's 6'2".
I
don't think he's 6'2".
Yeah.
And probably stretching it.
Yeah. I'm 6'1", then let's say I'm 6'1". But the point is I have to be able to sustain my disbelief. So when it comes to pro wrestling, I'm not a guy who watches as much AEW because I don't need to watch a bunch of 5'7" guys running around. I'm like, these guys, we had a state champion at Muhammad Seymour, where I went to high school, was unbelievable during my tenure. I was a basketball player. And like the guy who won 112 wanted to wrestle me one time. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to let you get into me because even though I was 170, I'm like, I'm not going to let you get into me because you know how to wrestle. I don't know what I'm doing. So I just throw him and he'd get mad at me. And I'm like, I'm not going to let you grab a hold of me and get me on the ground. So, with these smaller guys, I really think that it better be Reigns or Rollins for that title thing. And then I also look at guys like, Randy Orton. Where's he going to make his imprint? And even a guy like Drew McIntyre, who's gotten pretty good responses from crowds, not that big a match overall. And I'm a big Gunther fan, so I don't know. I think that this is the year that I think it'll be probably a very good quality WrestleMania, but I'm not as jacked because there's not a bloodline story. There's not a Rock, versus, Cody or something like that in the shadows. And so that's taken a little bit of the steam out for me as a fan.
No, I would agree. And I'll leave with this. I agree with you with CM Punk, and everything that Seth Rollins complains about is correct. And that's why I get annoyed, is because he did take his ball and went home. He did whine. He did leave for 9 years. And while he was away and everyone was chanting for him, there was guys like Seth Rollins that was putting in the work and doing the things. So everything he's saying is correct. I appreciate him on the microphone at times, and I'm not a hater. But when it comes to him versus Seth, I was ticked that Seth jobbed to him once. And I was glad that at least he got the victory the second time around, because I didn't want him. Remember when Cody came and Cody rolls in, and I actually like Cody, but like Seth put him over 3 times.
3 losses in a row.
Why?
Yeah, I agree.
That ticked me off. And so I don't want to see that with a guy who basically left the company for dead. And then he comes back and he gets his way. It annoys me too. So, and I wasn't a Roman Reigns fan. I'm like you. I wasn't a Roman Reigns fan until this new persona and what in the tribal chief stuff. And yeah, I'm bought in. I think it's great. How about and I gotta let you go. But how about Paul Heyman going with Seth Rollins and starting a nice run and running that way? And you looked at it on Monday night.
That would be so good.
Yeah, and you look on Monday night, Roman got physical with him. Like, he finally says enough's enough, and he goes with the guy that makes the most sense. So anyways, WrestleMania is on Saturday and Sunday. I got to balance Easter and being a good dad with WrestleMania. But Mike, I love your thoughts on wrestling, and I love your insight when it comes to the Illini Guys. Tell people real quick how they sign up for the Illini Guys, how they get the information, because it's a place to go to get information, but it's a really cool community as well. And I think that's the cool thing.
Yeah, you can go to IlliniGuys.com and you can subscribe there. We have a lot of stuff behind our paywall, and we have message boards, which is really what we're famous for, because Brad and Ked and Matt and Larry and myself are on them all the time. And so not only do our posters, go back and forth with one another and talk with one another, but they can go and say, Ked, what the heck did you mean by this? Or Matt, I disagree with you. And so you can have that interaction that takes it from just passive listening, reading, watching, and you get actual involvement. And the funny thing is Larry, Brad, and I were friends for years on Rivals. And if it wasn't for those friendships, we wouldn't have Illini Guys. And so we've tried to create a place where, fans can get $99 a year. So that's less than 27 cents a day. You get all of our stories, you get everything right away. But on the message boards, we never put something on a public thing like a podcast that hasn't been broken there before. So there's definite reasons why you want to subscribe. And the other thing that we do, and Matt, you do the same thing. We'll give you, like, if we're annoyed at a player, we'll talk about it, but we'll put it in the context of, they didn't get something done on the court, or they made a decision that I might not have made, but here's why they did it. We don't sit there and scream and yell at college kids, and we assume that college kids and coaches are doing the best thing. They wouldn't call for an inbound play if they knew it was going to get intercepted, or a field goal if they knew the guy was going to wide right it. So we try to be, positive. We're not going to scream and yell at people, and we don't want to be Stephen A. Smith. We don't want to be right wing or left wing talk radio.
Ked's been known to yell at a referee or two. I mean, let's be honest.
Oh, God, yeah. Ked and I are bad at that. Yeah, we are. I will tell you, you need to pay referees and make them full-time employees.
Yeah.
They deserve to be trained. They deserve not to have to fly 6 flights to 7 towns in a week, and then you wonder why they don't make the right calls, because they're freaking exhausted.
Yeah.
they've got to be put. And when you're making $1 billion a year, you can pay for better football and basketball refs.
I agree with you. The Illini Guys, Mike Cagley's his name. You, Ked, Brad, you guys do great work, and I always appreciate the time you give me so you're on Off the Air. Be well. Enjoy Easter. Enjoy WrestleMania. We'll talk to you soon, my friend. All right, that is Mike Cagley, from the Illini Guys. A lot going on, and I kind of joked at the beginning, but it is one of those things where it's almost as busy during the off season than it is during the season when it comes to news for the Illini, for the Hawkeyes, for college sports in general. We got a lot more to get to. Coming up next, we will chat with Keyvan Rudd, the wide receiver from the Quad City Steamwheelers, in the house, as the Wheelers are 4-0 and we get ready for Steamwheeler Wednesday right here on OTA. When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Yeah, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist. Please join us April 24th through May 3rd online for the 28th annual Chuck Long Charity Auction presented by Atlantic Bottling Company. This year's event features over 200 amazing items. The more bidders we have, the more money we'll raise for life-altering therapy for kids in need right here in the Quad Cities. So please bid high and bid often. Brought to you by these sponsors. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Wednesday here in the Quad Cities. And Wednesdays are quickly becoming my favorite day of the week because they're Steamwheeler Wednesdays here on Off the Air. Steamwheeler Wednesdays brought to you by XUSD. And for the second straight week, I've gotten to convince one of these guys to head all the way out to the house to see what's going on way out here in my island. I'm taking my headphones off so I can hear you a little better. Keyvan Rudd joining us right now. First and foremost, congratulations. 4-0 start for the Steamwheelers. Just kind of talk about the start. And first off, thank you for making the trip out here. Did you ever think you were going to get here?
Yeah, I knew I was going to get here. When I seen Milan, I'm like, oh, okay. We had a sponsor that was out in Milan, so I knew the direction I was going. And I put in the GPS. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to ask Destiny to replenish me on some gas money for making this trip. So, but no, it was a beautiful drive, though. Beautiful drive. Yeah, no, I love that you guys have you guys out here. Joe Crawl was on last week. We had a ton of fun with him, and we'll have some fun with you as well. I feel old before we start talking about all this because I was covering you when you were in high school. Yeah. And you're 32 years old. You're in the same class, not over at the same school, but as the same age as Chase and Randall. Yes.
Right behind you, one of my favorite people in the world right there up on the wall. Talk about being from the Quad Cities here, and it makes me feel old because, like, I remember covering you in high school. I know you're real proud of where you came from here in the Quad Cities, and to be able to represent the Quad Cities is a big thing for you.
Absolutely. First and foremost, there's like other interviews that I've seen and things that I've mentioned in previous videos where I said the first thing that I'm going to do is represent my area. Growing up, there weren't too many idols or people that we looked up to outside of Roger Craig, but no one else that was real flashy and kind of fit with the lifestyle that my friends were living, like the Reggie Bush, the people in the video games and all that kind of stuff. So we had other icons and legends that we looked up to. And I made it an emphasis early in my career, like, I want to be somebody that's going to come out of the Quad Cities that can create a nice legacy for the next generation of kids to look up to. So anything that I do is for my city, the way I represent myself, the way I represent my brand, the way I represent the Steamwheelers organization. It's all for the next generation. And I hope that I'm doing a good enough job for them and they see the efforts that I'm trying to make to lead them in a positive way. And I love being from the Quad Cities.
I love that. I love that. And that's the cool thing when you talk to Quad City kids about this place, and they can go out far away, they can stay home and do big things, but they're proud to represent it no matter where they're at. And that's a beautiful thing. And I can see that in you. You love the fact that these are your people. This is where you're from, and you're doing big things here.
Yes, and with all the traveling that I've done, I tell the people the stories of where I've traveled and where I lived, and all these other places feel like home too. But once I did all my traveling and I moved back home and I started to make that impact, you see why certain people move away and maybe come home to re-sprout their roots in the area, and that's what I've done. And in high school, you probably wouldn't have gotten this answer out of me. Nah, I'm going on TV. I'm living in the big city. Yeah. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, which I did, but I never knew my journey would bring me back here and make the impact that it's made.
You guys are making a big impact this year, the Wheelers, and I kind of joke a little bit about it because I want to take some credit. Ever since we started this relationship, the sponsorship and all that kind of stuff, you guys don't lose. So I get a little bit of an assist, but it's been a great start. It's the best start you've ever enjoyed with the Quad City Steamwheelers, 4-0. We'll get into last week's game in a second, but big picture-wise, what is it about this start that has you excited, and I think the community excited as well?
I think that, well, first of all, it's the best start in franchise history that we've had. We're undefeated. We feel good. We play good. We damn sure look good. Shout out to the new jerseys. Shout out to the new swag that we got. So I think the best thing that I'm excited for is that we have a group of guys that are bought in. And I just want to talk about the Massachusetts game. And we had 3 turnovers. I fumbled, VC fumbled, and our running back fumbled. We're on the sidelines. We're yelling. We're not arguing, but we're just all competitive. Mm-hmm. And we're like, hey guys, we're gonna fix this. We got it. We're good. Defense, you get us a stop. We're gonna fix it. And that's kind of always been our motto. But this year we actually showed it, and it was on the road. Mass was in the championship last year, and this is a team that we had an even series with, home and away with them. And we were able to come out victorious, even turning the ball over 3 times. And I think that was the sign where I'm like, we've got a different group, and it's starting to show.
You look at that game too, and it wasn't a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but you're learning and winning at the same time. And I think that's the beautiful thing, is because you can see each week you guys are stacking and getting better, but you don't have to catch up in the win-loss column. The wins are coming at the same time. That's going to pay big dividends down the stretch, isn't it?
And they're important because these are all conference games. So I'm not sure who kind of puts the bug in whoever's here for the scheduling. But, one thing I know Doug does is he makes sure we get one of those first games in the first week when the season kicks off. Yeah. And on top of that, all of our games were conference so far. So down the line, if we need any help or if anything weird happens, we're already 4-0 in that conference. So not to say we have any give or take to maybe lose a few games here and try to play that. We don't want to put ourselves in that situation. But with the way we're looking right now, it's definitely in our favor to finally secure a home playoff game.
Victory opening week, but then you go on the road and get 2 back-to-back games against Iowa. And again, another road win in week 3 where you get the job done, but there's some things that I know, I talking with Joe Crawl last week that you didn't like, you needed to clean up. Maybe closer than it probably should have been in Des Moines. It wasn't close this past week. I know it was a 53-35 final score, but kind of talk about that game on Saturday, because I think it was your best effort of the year. The scoreboard showed it, but forget about the scoreboard. The little things showed it. You guys did a lot of good things against a rival in the Barnstormers.
Yeah, and Coach mentioned all week, this team is gonna feel like we got away with one when we played them last week, just because of how the tables turned a little bit in the second half, and it was closer than it should have been. And last week, unfortunately, we started off pretty slow, very sluggish. Defense was holding it down, but offense we weren't clicking. We got into halftime, we talked a little bit, and then once we start firing how we were supposed to do, it was wicked out there. So that's how we started that second half, is how it should be the whole game. And then teams will start to know, like, okay, Quad City, yeah, they already know we're dangerous, but we got to start like that at first. Therefore, we don't have to worry about maybe them coming back, or if we turn the ball over, is the game going to be close? We want to start putting our foot on people's necks as soon as that clock starts.
The IFL is so much fun when it comes to offense, and everyone loves it. They enjoy it. But what I like about this team so far is you look at that Mass game, and you did turn the ball over a few times, and the defense had your back. Like, they would hold to field goals or missed field goals or get stops on fourth down, get the ball back, turnovers as well. And you had a kickoff return for a touchdown, I think, in that game as well. The highlights, you get all the highlights, you get the love in the end zone, but well deserved. But I think it's a well-rounded team, and I think that's the difference between an exciting football team and a championship football team. Would you agree with that kind of assessment, I guess?
I do, because we got new guys balling out on defense. I think each of our DBs maybe have 2 interceptions already on the season, because they are flying around, attacking the football, driving on the throws, and getting the picks. So somebody's got to get a pick 6 soon, but I'm glad they're killing it on the defensive side. Coach Thurgood is doing an amazing job coaching them boys up, putting them in a position to be successful. And on the offensive side, I think we, as a team collectively, I think we have an even balance of, you got vets, everybody's a playmaker, but you got your captains, and then you got your role guys, and then we all are just meshing, and it's all making sense at the right time, especially with how we're playing. So I think the camaraderie we have as a team is allowing us to be in this position and be so successful, and it's just dangerous that we haven't even reached where we want to be at as a team. Like, once we start really firing on these cylinders that I'm talking about, I mean, it's going to speak for itself.
You look at that quarterback of yours, and there's been good quarterbacks in this town I go back before the 2018, the old Steamwheelers, if that makes any sense. Daquan can sling it. He can run. What is it about that guy that you've seen so far? Just 4 games with him, but man, you guys have clicked, and VC and those guys have clicked quickly with him as well.
He's a former league MVP for a reason. Yeah. Like, we got introduced to this guy in 2019 when he was with the Barnstormers. I mean, he's making plays, he's fast, he's physical, and he wants to light the defense up. So he says, "Hey, this deep ball coming to you now, so you better be ready for it. I'm launching it." So he loves making plays. He can make all the throws. He can make the runs, and he's just an automatic threat. So it's not like teams can, okay, hey, we're gonna stop him from scrambling. That's fine. He's gonna dice you up. All right, let's start doubling so and so, or let's just make sure we're putting more pressure on the receivers. That's fine. If we go quarterback draw or anything where he's running the ball, you have to account for him. So I think having that dual threat, no matter what, is an instant, let's say, it's going to keep you up at night. It's going to keep these coaches up at night. And I think that having him on our team with the offense that we have in the playbook that Ross created, dangerous.
Talk to me about that head coach of yours, because this is year 6 for you, and you've had him every year. One, he's just a good human being. But 2, he's really good with this game. And like I mentioned before we started the segment to you, that like the Wheelers teams get better throughout the season. And that's, I think, the beauty thing about what he does. How important is that head coach of yours on and off the field when it comes to what you guys do as an organization?
He's very loyal. So he definitely, one of his first things that he mentions to his players is that he's very loyal, and he believes in that once he finds the right group of guys, he sticks with that. He wants to coach them up. He wants to put them in the position to be successful, and that's who he's going to ride or die with. And every year he's shown that. He talks about all the time, there are certain teams that have transactions going every single week. You got guys coming in left and right. He'll maybe have 3 or 4, probably no more than 6, granted injuries or anything like that he'll bring in during the season to kind of fit with the team. Because most of the guys that come in camp, that's the team, that's the roster of guys that finishes the season. So he does a good job of finding those guys that buy into, his program and puts it all together to try to achieve the ultimate goal. We've gotten close, but we're striving to get there. And I think this year, him and the staff did an amazing job of finding the right group of guys, the right guys with positive attitudes, the right guys that want to do things the right way, and the guys that are bought in to get us where we want to go. So he does a great job there. Can never fault him for wanting to accomplish that. Off the field, I don't see him that much. Off the field, I don't see him that much. I know he loves Madden, so maybe that's where some of these plays come from. I know he likes to draw things up like that. Last year he got on the bus. He played the video game with us on the bus last year. The new college football game came out, so we got to see him playing the game. Like, okay, see, now I know why you try to draw up that play. This is where you maybe got that from.
Yeah.
So very chill players coach in a sense, and outside of that, yeah, we've had a relationship since 2018. Interesting story. When I started to get into arena football, I was referred to him, and this is when he was in Omaha. And the coach told me to hit him up, see if you can get in on his team and go from there. I called him probably 3 or 4 times. He did not answer. And I think he sent me a text back and said, my team is full. I'll contact you if anything changes. Along the lines of now being one of his players, that how far back the loyalty has gone. When he said he has his team, he's going to keep those guys and go from there. And he actually went to the championship that year. He was in Omaha before he came to the Steamwheelers and unfortunately lost. But that just dates how back the loyalty goes and starting to see certain traits of his that he continues to carry. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Keyvan Rudd joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo in the house. Excited. It's Steamwheeler Wednesday. You look at Saturday's game, and we talked a little about the game itself, but there is an energy about this team right now in this area. I don't know if you feel it, and we can kind of talk a little bit about it, but over 6,000 people at the arena on Saturday. Great crowd. You go around the area, and people are talking about the Steamwheelers, and they always do, but I think there's more of a buzz. Do you guys feel that as players, the excitement that the community is starting to really, really get behind you guys? And the beauty part is we're only 4 games in. There's a lot of football to be played. Are you guys feeling that kind of love?
We definitely feel it. I always make sure I tell guys how bought in this community is on Steamwheeler football. Yeah. And, unfortunately it's sports. If you're winning, they're going to show up. If you're not winning, they might be like that. That's just, that just comes with the territory. But coming out 4-0, seeing 6,300 in the stands on Saturday, I think that's the biggest crowd we've had since our inaugural game in 2018, the scrimmage game. That was maybe 7,000-8,000 that we had in there. It was packed. Coach Ross actually had that picture as his background on his computer for the longest. I'm not sure if he still has it, but that was a great crowd, and I personally want to see it grow. I wasn't going to the games yet, but I tell guys, check the YouTube, man. There was 9,000 to 10,000 people in here. No open seats. No open seats. So, Steamwheeler fans, whichever camera I'm looking at,
all of them.
Right there.
Right there, yeah.
I want 9,000 to 10,000 fans in the stands. Let us know what we need to do to get you there, because I want to witness that. That's when the team was rocking. The energy was crazy. I want to feel that energy from 10,000 people.
I'm old, and I'm probably looking at 2,000-ish. Trying to, when I was in college, go down to a Wheelers game, and it was impossible to get tickets. Like, we got tickets to one game. It was a ton of fun, and I'm like, and that's the thing. Kind of talk about the experience, because I have yet to ever have somebody say to me, I went to the Wheelers game and it was okay. Yeah, it was fine, or I didn't have a good time. Like, every time I know somebody says, hey, I'm going to go check out the Wheelers, I hear back that was a blast. And talk about that, because it's a great environment for kids, for families, for adults. You're right there on top of the field. Like, you literally, you might get some friendly fire if you're in the front rows. Talk about that, because no one doesn't have a good time. You got Joe afterwards, shotgunning beers and everything like that. It's an experience, isn't it?
It's one of the best experiences. And, granted, there's some people that want to get to that next level in the NFL and all of that. But I tell people all the time, what we do in indoor football is completely different. You've got combined scores that are hitting over 100. You can't go up the stairs for 5 seconds and turn around. You could have missed over-the-wall catch, popcorn flying anywhere, a ball thrown in the stands. There's consistent action with this game that's almost impossible not to enjoy.
Yeah.
And one of the best feelings about that is letting the fans on the field after the game. There are kids, adults that come up to us. This is our first game. This was insane. You're my favorite player. Can you sign this? Oh, I had such an awesome time. I enjoy hearing that because that means we're putting on a show for this community, and that means we're getting new fan support that we love to have. There's, the dollar beer nights. Who don't love dollar beers? I don't drink, but I know the fans love the dollar beers.
Yeah.
We got kids night coming up. We do things for the union night, veterans, military game, all that stuff. So we're doing things that we're not disincluding anyone. Like everyone's included. Everyone's involved. Everyone can come. Everyone can enjoy it. So it's just an experience that you have to experience for yourself. If you've never been to a game, you got to come to one. Why not come watch an undefeated team?
Yeah.
Why not come out and enjoy affordable football? Come on, man. Not everyone has
I can promise you
$200 for one ticket.
I can promise you that, and I'm not bashing youth baseball again, but I don't play. My kids play a lot of youth baseball.
Yeah.
They don't let me play anymore. But and I go for a weekend, and I guarantee you it's cheaper for me as a family to take my kids to the Wheelers game than it is to go to baseball games all weekend long and pay to get in and concessions and all that kind of stuff. So no, it's affordable, it's fun, and they're undefeated. They're 4-0. Do you like a bye week right now? When you're everybody likes a bye week. I think they serve a perfect purpose. So you like it, but some part of you like, I want to keep rolling. Like we're playing. How do you approach this bye week right now?
That we take care of everything outside of football. Guys that aren't from here, go see your family.
Yeah.
Guys that are from here, still see your family. Take some time to relax. Take some time to reset, and then take some time away from football. You got to do it. Kind of clear your mind. Get familiar with some things outside of this sport that can just keep you connected to the world around you, which is really good. And I think that's having bye weeks is good because you're going to need a break. Football, we're supposed to be tough, gridiron, the toughest guys in the planet. But at the same time, there's other things that, need to be addressed or other things that we have to give our time to keep us, sane as a person. And then once it's time to go back to football, now we're back at war and then we're good.
4-0. How do you look forward to? And the beauty thing is we've been talking about home games. Next game is at home, the 26th. And you talked about we're going to go from dollar beers to youth jerseys. And that's, I think, the cool thing is you took care of mom and dad the first round.
Yeah. And
now you're going to take care of the kids. 500 jerseys, go out to the first 500 kids, 12 and under, and all that kind of stuff. When do you start looking back at football? Like now you're on the bye week. Do you just flush it and forget about it? Is it Monday practice or Sunday practice? When do you guys turn your attention to your next game?
We honestly, right after we're done celebrating the victory. So come Sunday, even though we're on a bye week, we would have had film study.
Okay.
Right after we watch film, cool. We watch what we did. Let's fix this. We have Mondays off, and that Tuesday, that's when we're back into the swing of things.
Gotcha.
So that's when we would have been locked in had we not had this bye week. But we've got guys coming back by this weekend. Coming back by this weekend, and then once everyone reports back, we'll watch film. We'll start studying our new opponent, which will be Jacksonville. They're undefeated, the only other undefeated team in the Eastern Conference. So we've got a huge battle on our hands coming up. So it's time to refocus and lock back in.
It's almost like 7, 8, 9, 10,000 people should be there for a battle of unbeatens possibly.
Yes.
On Saturday night. Want to talk to you about some other quick things. I want to get your thoughts on some Quad City stuff, some fun questions, all that kind of stuff. We're going to take a quick timeout, and when we get back, we'll have much more. It's Steamwheeler Wednesday right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We'll be right back.
Quad City parents tired of the same old weekend routine? Well, listen up. Saturday night, April 26th, it's free youth jersey night with your Quad City Steamwheelers. The first 500 kids 12 and under score a free official Steamwheelers jersey just for showing up. That's right, free gear, big plays, and non-stop family fun. It's IFL football action and memories that'll last a lifetime. Grab your tickets now at steamwheelersfootball.com/tickets and make it a night your kids won't forget. Presented by Crawford Company.
Welcome back to Off the Air on a Wednesday. It is a Steamwheeler Wednesday. Keyvan Rudd joining us right now. Former Davenport Central standout, way back in the day. 3 sports, right?
3 sports.
3 sports. And more importantly now, wide receiver for the undefeated Quad City Steamwheelers. That's got a good ring to it, doesn't it?
Something like that. You said a long time ago. I ain't that old now. Hold on.
No, hey, trust me. I tell you, hey, you're much younger than I feel, I think. We talked a lot about the team when we had you in the first segment. Kind of want to talk about you right now and we talked about your roots here in the Quad Cities, how important they are. You look at your alma mater, you look at, high school football in this area and stuff. How much do you still look at it and see and maybe appreciate kind of the stuff that goes on in our area? Because we don't get the love that I think we should when it comes to the products we get out of the area, the football we play here in this area. Do you still get dialed in at all to the high school scene and maybe watch your alma mater every now and then?
First of all, DCU, hail to the red and blue, Davenport Central's finest. So I'm always connected to anything that Central's doing. I love going back, seeing people that were there when I was there for, Ellinger, Peterson, Mayfield, some of those people that were around that are still there. I love going back, messing around with them. But I follow it just a little bit. I tried coaching out at Davenport Central during the COVID year.
Okay.
And it was all right, but it wasn't my thing yet. I told myself I never wanted to be a coach, but I was going to give it a shot, see what I can do. But due to how my work schedule works and kind of how I travel and stuff, these kids need more of a connection than anything in the world. And I knew that with how I operate with my schedule, I wasn't going to be able to be there for them full time, especially after the season. Yeah. So, football is almost a year-round thing with the high school sports now and how it's developing. And I told myself once I was done with football, maybe my mom, shout out to my mom, she wants me to coach so bad. And I said, I'm not sure, but
I can see it, Mom. I can see it. I can see it.
Maybe.
She's right.
Maybe. But I told myself anything like that, I have to be done playing first. That way I know I can dedicate all of my time to the youth in this community. But outside of that, my nephew, Carter Light, amazing basketball player there. He's doing great. I've been to a few of his games to see him shine. He's got a big senior year ahead of him. Yeah. And I love what Mayfield's going to be turning the women's basketball program around. They've got some things coming. So I know it's a rough start right now, but I know he's going to be able to turn around. And shout out to Coach Berg. He's understanding the culture that these kids need at Davenport Central, and he's doing his best to turn it around. They're doing stuff in the community. I've never seen that before. They're going to talk to elementary schools. They're picking up trash. He's doing a lot for that program that's going to turn it back into hopefully the old Davenport Central. Yeah. People were scared to play us. We was winning ball games, blowing people out. But I think we definitely deserve a lot more attention in the Quad Cities with the athletes that we're producing and the talent that we have. I do think programs for sure need to get better. They need to develop. There are a lot of resources that are being put in place for that to happen. All the new stuff that's going in at Brady. Every school's getting their taste of construction that's going on. West has got something new. North is about to get something new. Davenport Central already had their turn, but the way that Brady's our home field, technically. So we're getting some things done there, and I think that within the next probably 5 years or so, there's going to be a lot more product coming out of the Quad Cities like it was back in before my time. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Do you have a memory from high school? We can talk about Wheeler stuff and everything like that. And it can be any sport. I know you played 3 of them. Is there a moment or a memory that you remember from high school that you're like, that was, whether track, basketball, a football play, or a game? Is there something that you're like, those were my high school days and this is what I want to tell you about?
I might have one from each sport.
Let's have it.
If I start from...
What was football your favorite sport, right?
Football is my first, that's my love.
Okay.
That's my baby.
Yeah. Yeah. How would you rank them? Football, track, basketball?
Honestly, now or back then?
Back then.
Oh, football, track, basketball. I didn't want to play basketball. Before I got into it in high school, I was just tall and lanky. I was clumsy. I could not dribble. I was just out there because I was a little bit tall. I'll never forget my early days of basketball. It was nasty. What
clicked? Coordination?
I'm not sure, but once we got into my freshman year,
because you told me you shut down Chase and Randall your senior year.
Whoa, Chasen, I did not say that. I did not say that. I did guard him for a little bit, but I did not say that. I don't know what it was. I think just being around my friends. All of my friends, all we wanted to do was play sports. So I would have felt like the odd man out had I not played.
Yeah.
So, I started playing freshman year, sophomore year, and then JV, and then varsity. But since we're talking about basketball, I would say it was the night I dropped my career high, 32 points against North Scott.
So it's pretty good that you went from being a clumsy guy that couldn't dribble to putting up
Yeah.
32. Was it at the Pit or was it at George Marshall?
It was at George Marshall.
Okay.
And I think right now it might still be top 10 in the Central points record book. And it's just like, I didn't belong in there.
Were you cooking? Like what was going on?
I was eating. I think I was 3 for 3 from 3.
Okay.
I was blocking shots left and right. Shout out Hal Bateman. He was throwing me dimes. And
so that's that. I'm putting it all together.
Yeah.
So was it L.A. Pomeroy on that team too,
nope,
or no?
This was Hal's senior year. He was
okay.
It was him, Nick Mims, Tevin Robbins. Those are only 3 seniors. We only had 3 seniors that year.
Okay.
So Hal was out there dealing with most of us underclassmen.
Hal was so
yeah.
funny. He was such a good kid.
Yeah, he had to deal with a lot of us underclassmen. And looking back on it now, as me being a vet to the young guys, I can kind of see what his mindset was as a senior dealing with underclassmen. So
he could. I think he might be the best jumper I've ever seen.
At 5'8"?
That's
Ooh, my bad. Hal might be 5'10", or is he 5'8"? He 5 something.
He's Hal. We're gonna give you 5'10".
Yeah, I'm gonna give him 5'10". But speaking of, the other part of that is when I actually beat Hal in a dunk contest, and rest in peace, Coach. Oh, I'm forgetting his name. Coach Buckles. He was the one that crowned me beating Hal. I think Hal did.
Was it in practice?
It was in practice.
Okay.
It was like one of the day before the games, and we're just going through our pregame stuff. And Hal did one of his usual, probably off 2 feet, or he went one and cocked it back. I don't know what was in me that day, but I did a windmill, and I don't know how I did that. I was more of a LeBron James type.
Where's Hal at right now?
Hal works for the Davenport Police Department.
Because I see him on social media. I need to. He was one of my favorite interviews. He always had that big smile on his face.
Yeah.
Had a great personality, and he could fly. He could absolutely jump out of the gym. Okay, basketball. Give me football. What's that moment? I pick one.
I know. If I have to pick 1.5.
Okay.
Honestly, I think it would be my entire senior year, because I remember everything about it. Junior year, I remember bits and pieces, but my senior year, I remember almost everything about it.
Wow.
Being out there with, my best friends, being out there knowing that this is the last time we're ever going to play football together again. Not the practices, but the games. Just I remember things that happened in the games. My best friends, Jeff Jackson, Nick Eccles, I found their highlight tapes on DVD, and I sent it to Jeff. And I'm like, bro, do you remember? We were on the phone for probably like an hour and a half going through stuff that, we went through that season.
Yeah.
That was one for sure. I scored our first and last touchdown of our senior year. Scored in Muscatine, ended at Dubuque Hempstead. And the other half was the moment, shout out Coach Reeves, Derek Reeves. Mm-hmm. He was our coach our sophomore year. This is probably the most important one. He sat us down our sophomore year because he was no longer going to be our coach due to some things that didn't transfer over with his, coaching class, or however that worked back in the day. And I just remember him talking to us as a man to young kids, as if like, hey, I love you guys. This is what's happening. Unfortunately, I want to be your coach, this and that. And it was one of the moments where I fell in love with the process of what football means and what coaches are supposed to mean to you. And we still have a good relationship to this day, but have that being when I was 14 years old. Yeah. I remember it like it was yesterday.
He's good people.
Yeah. So
He's
that
really
was,
good people.
Those were probably the 2 most best moments.
Quickly give me track, because I got some other fun questions for you.
Oh, when I broke the Davenport Central's high jump record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the record now?
6'9".
Is it still 6'9"?
It's 6'9". Yep, I still own it. I broke it at the conference meet at North Scott. And the guy that held the record was, at the time, my girlfriend's best friend's uncle. And,
no kidding.
And I would tell her all the time, like, hey,
get it.
How did your uncle, what was, you're going to get it one day. What, 6'8"? I can't do that.
Yeah.
Nah, give me that, 6'9".
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, I was going to ask you what other sport you would play besides football, but that's the ones probably we just talked about. Yeah. If you could have dinner, I love asking this question, with one person in the entire world, it didn't have to, who would it be and why?
Dead or alive?
Doesn't matter.
My grandpa. My grandpa, Johnny Rudd, there's tendencies that I have now that my mom, my cousins tell me about that symbolize him in so many ways.
Did you know him?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Up until he passed away, unfortunately, when I was living in San Fran.
Okay.
But there's just things that you don't understand until you become older, but when you become an adult. And that started to hit me later in life once I started to see that he would be the one driving around giving all of my little cousins and myself candy and money. I found myself doing that to my little cousins. Some of my demeanors and characteristics, I see that in old photos that I find. He had 2 or 3 Corvettes. He was a car guy. I drive a Camaro. So it was just like there was things that was happening where it was just like I should have had way more conversations just about life in general.
Yeah, I love that.
And some of the things that he went through growing up and just getting to know him more as I got older. Like at this age, I would probably be with him almost every day, just talking and seeing what it was like back when he was growing up, when he was my age. What was he doing? Some of the things that I do with my dad now.
Yeah.
I love hearing his stories about what he was doing back when he was younger and stuff like that. And then it just all makes sense of some of the things that I do.
Yeah.
So
you're at that age. Like, I remember, and I tell my boys to this day, you're probably going to go through a period where you might not like me because I was your buddy, I was your best friend, and then like I got to be your dad for a while.
100%.
And so like you're probably not going to like me for a little while. And that was what my old man used to say to me is, and then he's like, and my dad passed away about 12 years ago. But towards the end, it was like I would go to the house and sit and I'd talk hours for him. And he was right. I hate to say it, but like, and now I go through it and like I'm doing stuff now as like a dad going, man, if he was still here now, he'd be like just sitting there with a grin on his face because, yeah, Dad, you're right. I should have listened a little more. So great conversations. Great answer. I love that.
Yep.
You've traveled.
Oh, yeah.
So give me your favorite food worldwide. And then give me your favorite food here in the Quad Cities that you got to have when you're in the Quad Cities. So let's start worldwide.
I'm kind of basic. I'm a picky eater.
Chicken strips and fries?
I'm not that basic.
Okay.
But there is a place in Portland, when I lived in Portland, Oregon, called Bamboo Hawaiian Grove Grill.
Okay.
Absolutely love that place.
Is it kind of like a, what's it call it? Oh,
It's Hawaiian food. They have all kinds of stuff, but
Julian's gonna be mad because I can't think the name of the place that's here in the Quad Cities. It's
Zeke's?
really good. Zeke's, yeah.
Zeke's?
Kind of like Zeke's.
a little bit,
Okay.
kind of a little different, but that's the first thing that just popped into my mind.
Yeah.
Anytime I go to Portland, first place I stop.
Okay.
That's like my favorite spot out of all the places that I lived. And locally,
What's the hidden gem here? Like, give me some place that have you tried here or you tried there? I think I've been around. I think I've got most.
You know what? Because I had it the other day. Here's the scoop in the East Village. Ice cream.
I thought you were saying here's the scoop. Like
oh,
you're
no.
Scoop.
Here's
the scoop.
That's my absolute spot. They love me there. As soon as I come in, they already know the order.
So I'm assuming it's ice cream, obviously.
It is ice cream.
So what's the order?
The Reese's peanut butter. The Reese's peanut butter half
How do
pint.
you look like that?
Hey, I do a lot of running around. I'm not one of those vets that hang out at practice. I do a lot of running. But outside of ice cream, I would honestly have to think about it. I love kind of my local spots, the Rudy's cheese fries. I grew up on those because there was one in the East Village. I used to walk down there back when they were $5.
Yeah.
Grab me some cheese fries, call it a day. Man, just I got to stick with here's the scoop because there's Smash Pizza in Bettendorf.
Is that up on 53rd?
No, it's in Bettendorf. You know where the Whitey's is in Bettendorf? Like you're going to PV?
Yep.
If you're coming from, like if you turn, Locust turns into what, 18th?
Yep.
And you keep going all the way and you take that left, it's in that area over kind of a little bit down.
Okay, so what kind of pizza? Like explain the pizza. Is it like deep dish? Is it like Quad City pizza?
It's
pizza.
It's pizza. I don't know how to explain it, but it's the best pizza I've ever had in my life.
Okay.
And it's delicious. If y'all haven't been there, Smash Pizza, tell them Key sent you, even though they might not know who I am because I ain't been there enough. I got to get my schedule's crazy, but it's the best pizza I've had in the Quad Cities.
I love that. Before we wrap up with you, a couple more things. 6 years with the Wheelers, and I don't know if you realized it, but you've become, in my opinion, the face of the organization. When it comes to a local guy that represents, that's been there for long enough, people know that guy is going to be out there. His name's going to be on the back of a jersey. He's going to be catching touchdowns. Do you feel that? And if so, what kind of responsibility or what kind of, I don't want to say, what kind of responsibility do you take when you hear that you're maybe the face of an organization?
I represent everything that surrounds itself with the Steamwheelers. So if there's something that relates to who can we rely on to go do this show, right? Who can we rely to do this school visit and the kids are going to go absolutely crazy, and we know that the principal is going to say, hey, this is the guy that, like, the kids absolutely read. Who can we rely on when it's time for that game-winning touchdown, as I've done many times before, right? So I say that humbly and respectfully. Yeah. I worked hard to get to this point, and, you know, I wear that with, a badge of honor that I've gotten to that point because, again, I never thought my career would take me here. I never thought I would be in this position. But once I worked hard for it, once I respectfully earned it, I knew that I had to, carry that torch until it was time to pass it on to the next person. So I'm going to do that until, my time is up. And hopefully looking back on it, the people that will have things to say about me will say that I represented the organization well, I carried myself well, and I did things around this community that will leave a lasting impact.
Even if it means driving 5 hours out to my house to come do this show in my loft.
It was like 5.5 hours. So like I said,
so come hang out with some unemployed guy in his loft who's pretending to do a show.
I'm going to need some extra vouchers, or I'm not leaving here until I have some dinner, or I'm going through the kids' fruit snacks. Something getting taken.
You should be here next week because it'll be after Easter. There's probably going to be a boatload of candy in this place. You could have taken all that before you left. I like, because people, now Doug Bland's been out here. Joe's been out here, Crawl. Now yourself, Corey's dodging me. He's too good to come hang out with me.
He's not good with his phone.
Doug
it's that Android
Crawl
stuff.
Doug Bland from the jump didn't like my helmet selection here,
and I want to know why. Because
what do you think of it overall?
Well,
you're not a Lions guy, obviously.
I'm not a Lions guy. I'm an Eagles fan. No bandwagon.
But it's not like I got
receipts.
like a Giants. I don't got a Giant or an Eagle or a Cowboys. It could be worse.
I think Doug's
Dan Campbell's the man.
I think Doug's from Texas. So if you had anything from Texas on there, he might not have said anything.
Yeah.
But the fact that you didn't have this on there.
I love this. This is what I wanted.
You didn't have this on there. Y'all might have to zoom in on this later. But you didn't have the Quad City helmet
on
there.
Up here.
Let's get this on here.
That's what I love.
Yeah, I can't sign this. You're gonna have to get it how it is. Destiny told me no.
I can't sign it?
Oh, I can't. You trying to get me fined.
Oh,
trying to get me fined. I'm fine free.
Well, my kids aren't gonna like that, but no, that's okay. Look at that. I'll put it right in front.
Look at that. Front and center. Quad City's finest.
Look at that. So look at this. I got the Wheelers. I got the John Deere Classic representing. I got the John Deere Classic over here. Pat Anger's goofy, what's over there. So I'm loving it. So, hey, I appreciate you coming out and doing this. Again, it's a bye week. Enjoy it. Get rested. Get healthy. All that kind of stuff. You healthy? Everything's good?
It's funny. I'm the Iron Man of this team. I'm always healthy.
Do you feel 32?
No.
Because it's funny because 32 in life isn't old. 32 in football isn't, but you're still playing at the top level that I've seen you play at.
Well, I didn't get into this right out of college. So is there time for another story?
Yeah.
So,
hey, there's no weather guy. There's no credits at the, I can go.
Oh, we got credit. Okay. So all the guys always love
the beauty of YouTube, my friend.
I keep telling people all the time when I'm finally done and I tell my whole story, I have a lot of stories. When I graduated from college, I got invited to an NFL regional combine at the Bears facility. Mm-hmm. Messed up my hamstring. Once you can't do anything there, you're dead meat. They don't even want to look at you. So I healed up. I finished my track career with my personal best, 7.1 3/4. I earned my third All-American, and I had a decision to make. I can chase track, which at the time I believe was like B standard-ish. I wasn't too far off B standard-ish for Olympic trials. Mm-hmm. Or I can chase my dream of football. So I had a decision to make, but I knew football, I was able to chase it a little bit better with how my work schedule was. I was a store manager at Finish Line at the time. I knew that my off-the-field career had to be first no matter what because football doesn't last forever. Track's not going to last forever. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get into football until 2018, and I graduated in 2015. So for 3 years, I really didn't do anything. So I got into the sport at 25.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of tread on that tire.
I had those 3 years off.
No, that's what I'm saying. You have a lot of tread left.
Tread. Yes,
yeah, you have a lot of tread left.
Yes,
like you're not like so. Instead of being like normally when you're 32, you're like, gosh, she's been there for 10 years.
Yeah,
this is only 6.
And I've been telling guys that some guys right out of college they go into it. Now, if I was playing fresh out of college, I'd be like, okay, Grandpa, you need to let this go. You got to let it go. But in high school, was the guy ish.
Yeah.
College. More so as of a role guy. We're still getting play. I still played all 4 years. Track, 3 All-Americans, multiple-time conference champion. But I wasn't as active during football as I am now, as in role-wise. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where I got a lot of meat left on my tires because I didn't burn myself out in college.
I love it.
So
how long are you going to play?
How long am I going to play?
Yeah, how long you want to play? Gonna, whatever.
I always reevaluate after the year's over.
Okay.
Last year, I told myself I'll see where I'm at in 2 years, and then go from there.
Okay.
So I definitely, my daughter will be in elementary next year, so I plan on at least getting another year in. So when we do school visits and stuff, I'll be able to go to her school and say,
you love those school visits.
Yeah, I love them. Because another story, I tell people all the time, I have no memory of anybody coming to our practice, anybody coming to a game, football, track, or basketball in high school, dropping gems on us, giving us stories about how they made it out, giving us stories about where they've been in their journey. I have no memory of that.
Yeah.
So I told myself, once I started to fulfill this role of who and what I am for the Steamwheelers and this community, I made a promise to myself that I'm going to do that for those kids. So when they get older, I remember this guy came to my school and maybe told us a story or he played with us.
Man. Yeah.
I told myself I was going to do that. So that's one of my biggest focuses every time that I, re-sign and play.
It makes a lasting impact on kids. A quick story is the Augustana basketball team was so good and it's longer than I think ago, but they went to the Final Four and my 15-year-old was probably like 7 or 8, something like that. And we had a little basketball team, and they would after practice and stuff, we'd go over to Augustana and watch them play. So there's about 5 or 6, 7 kids that went to a lot of these games at the Carver Center and love these guys. They made it all the way to the Final Four, and I asked them, it was Dylan Sortillo, Krishan Orange, and Nolan Ebel. I said, hey, can you guys stop by practice? They'd just gotten done with the Final Four. I'm like, these kids would go crazy if you guys showed up, and like, absolutely. So I asked them to come and just stop by. And it was funny, we got there and me and the other coach were like, hey, we're going to challenge you guys to a game of basketball, coaches versus kids. And they all laughed. They said, well, there's 5 of us and there'll be 5-on-2. There's no way. And they're little kids. We could have beat them 5-on-2. But I said, well, and I knew what we were doing. I said, let's see if we can find like somebody to help us out. So I just opened the door to the gym to the outside and I yelled outside, hey, anybody want to run with us? And those 3 walked into the gym and they lost their mind.
Yes.
And to their credit, they didn't just say hi, give high fives and leaves. They played for an hour and a half, let them throw alley-oops, ran with them all, and they still talk about it to this day.
Yeah.
So when you're going to these schools and you're doing those kind of things, I guarantee you those kids 10 years from now are going to be like, you remember when Rudd showed up at the school and did all these kind of things? So
doing backflips off the cafeteria tables, it gets crazy in there.
Man,
So
I'm going to recruit you to go to my kids' school.
If I got to drive all the way out here again, you got Destiny. I'm coming for the
I
gas
go
money.
I have to go into them. I can't do all that. It's not that far, people. Trust me, it's not that far.
It's not. I'm a little bit dramatic, but
No,
that's one of the things after the games. I get yelled at by security. All right, it's time to. I'm not leaving until there's no more kids that are done asking for my shoes or my gloves or want a picture or an autograph.
I love that. Well, I appreciate you coming out here.
Yes, sir.
Best of luck. Stay healthy. Again, Wheelers week off this week. The 26th are at home. Possibly is Jacksonville playing this week?
Yes, they play Massachusetts again.
So if they can beat Mass, it would be a battle of unbeatens early in the season. Huge game in the IFL. Get down to this and go get the tickets now. Like they're on sale now. Go get there. First 500 kids. You seen the commercial that we're running. The first 500 kids get a youth jersey, and he'll sign it. I guarantee.
I will sign all of them. Trust me.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming in.
All
right, we got a lot more to get to coming up in just a little bit. We're just getting warmed up. Much more to get to as you're watching Off the Air on a Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist. When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo right here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Wednesday, April 16th. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We kind of talked about it a little bit at the top of the show, but two local standouts making big news nationally. Chase and Randall, all he does is winning a G League championship with the Stockton Kings a few nights ago. We're going to have try to have Chasen on the show here in the next couple days. And also Lexi Rodriquez, Sterling standout, Nebraska volleyball standout, winning the prestigious AAU James E. Sullivan Award. She's just the third volleyball player to ever win the award. Obviously, like I said, a Sterling standout, played collegially, one of the best in the entire country at Nebraska. Nebraska volleyball is an entity of itself. It's a beautiful thing. So I wanted to play for you guys. This is Lexi accepting the award last night. Again, the prestigious AAU James E. Sullivan Award.
And I just want to say thank you to the entire AAU organization for, even just considering me for this award. And it's just been an honor to be here with some amazing athletes still just crazy in shock. There's Olympians and world champions, and this is very overwhelming, but super exciting. And yeah, I mean, I could say thank you to so many people. I think I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for everyone at the University of Nebraska, all my coaching staff and my teammates who are here with me today, and just all their belief that they had in me throughout my college career and just my volleyball career is a huge reason as to why I was able to do what I was able to do, and I'm just so grateful for them. I'm grateful and want to say thank you to the Husker volleyball community and just the whole state of Nebraska, because if you've ever heard of Nebraska volleyball, you know that the fans are pretty crazy, but they're amazing, and their support also was just so incredible to have. And I know that, you know, a lot of them probably voted, and so if you're watching at home, thank you. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you to my family. They've been with me every step of the way, and they're my biggest supporters, my rock, and truly, they just mean the entire world to me. And so to my mom, who's here today, who's, I know, unbelievably proud of me, but I'm also just proud of her and everything that her and my dad and my sister and everyone have taught me. So yeah, that's what I got for a speech. I'm not really good at this, but thank you all. It's been amazing being here and meeting all of you guys, and truly it is such an honor. So thank you.
Awesome stuff from Lexi Rodriquez, Sterling standout. Great honor for her. We are efforting to get her on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo coming up sometime probably next week. So congratulations once again to her. We want to thank everybody for watching today's show. We want to thank Mike Cagley from the Illini Guys for chatting with us an hour and one about all the things going on with Illinois athletics, be it football, be it basketball. We didn't even really get into the Leah Guyton transfer women's basketball-wise, but a lot going on down in Champaign. We also want to thank Keyvan Rudd from the Wheelers for coming on for Steamwheelers Wednesday. Again, bye week this week. April 26th back at home. And like Rudd said, you know, 6,000, over 6,000 there on Saturday, which was awesome. The most ever since they came back in 2018. But let's see 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. I remember back in the day when I was a younger lad, probably back in my college days, Wheeler games were a must. They were impossible to get tickets to. So let's do that again, because this is a really good football team. 4-0 on the season with a big game coming up next week, next Saturday, April 26th. So thanks for Rudd for coming in. Also, as we mentioned, if you missed the shows this week as well, Pat Anger, Rick Brown, and Thomas Smith on Monday, Tom Kakert, Matt Furlong, and Nate Gilbreth, and Lauren Walker all on Tuesday. So looking forward to tomorrow's show. We're going to be joined by Augustana head softball coach, former Rock Ridge softball coach, John Nelson, who knows a little bit of something about everything when it comes to softball here in the Quad Cities and doing great things at Augustana as well. We'll have our mock draft Thursday, our .08 mock draft Thursday, and a few other things along the way as well. Hoping to debut a Throwback Thursday with a guest. We're going to do, you know, a guest every Thursday that you may remember, and you want to get to know what they're doing now. Throwback Thursday. So a couple things we're working on for Thursday. Want to thank you guys for watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Again, if you haven't, please subscribe on YouTube, and we will see you guys back here tomorrow. And as always, thanks to our fantastic sponsors for allowing us to do this goofy little show every single day. We'll see you guys tomorrow.